Man, such a good week last week. I love that we have a video like that just to take a moment to celebrate all that God did. I kind of had this moment a couple weeks ago. We were on a trip with our high schoolers to CIY just a couple weeks ago, and in a 24-hour period of time, we had 21 students give their lives to Jesus for the very first time, and it was like this, it was like this vacuum of a moment where for me, like kind of leading the trip, there's like all the logistics that goes into 21. Like, okay, did this leader talk to that kid? Who has called the parents? Who's FaceTiming the parents in the moment? Like there's like a million things going on. And so like in the moment, I guess I wasn't there, so to speak. And it wasn't until a few days later that I was sitting back with our team that I was like, man, what the heck just happened? Like Jesus showed up in such a cool way, but sometimes when you're in the moment, it might be easy to miss what Jesus did. So I love that we get to celebrate with videos like that to talk about all that Jesus did last week at the beach. Now, my name is Jeremy. I'm super excited to hang out with you guys, talk about Jesus a little bit. You might have heard earlier, maybe you caught wind of that it's Youth Takeover Sunday. So that's a cool thing that's going on. We're going to have some students kind of up here on stage with us in a little bit, but I want to be abundantly clear. Like, today's not about them. Here at Christ.Church, it's always and only about Jesus. So as much as we're going to celebrate what Jesus is doing in the next generation, we also just want to celebrate all that Jesus is and has done in our lives today. So we're just going to talk Jesus. Before we do that, I got to tell you, before I came here to Christ.Church and lived in Florida, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, just south of Nashville, actually in a little town called Franklin, if you guys know Franklin, Tennessee. And when I was there, I was working with a church in Franklin and getting to do life with a bunch of students and leaders in Franklin. And our church had this 25-passenger shuttle bus. So like the kind of bus you might ride around the airport kind of bus thing. But in order to drive it, since it fit more than 15 people, it didn't matter if you had less than 15 people on the bus. It just mattered that more than 15 could fit on it. So you had to have your commercial driver's license to drive this shuttle. And so I had one volunteer, a guy named Tim Park. Tim was awesome, was always ready and willing to drive, loved leading students to Jesus alongside Tim back in the day. And Tim was always ready and always there to drive our bus to the water park or to a AAA baseball game or to on a conference or something like that. But he also worked for the post office. And so, during certain seasons, like maybe around Christmas, his schedule would be packed. He might be not available till after 7 o'clock at night or something like that. He also worked 6-day weeks. And so there were often times when he was busy. And honestly, a couple years in, I just got tired of having to find somebody to drive us to stinking Sonic or something, for something that was going on with our students. So one day I put my foot down. I was like, I'm going to get my commercial driver's license so that we can just go wherever we want to, whenever we need to. Which, by the way, if you ever want to get your commercial driver's license, also just know that if you get it, then everybody else thinks they can use you to drive them anytime, any place, anywhere. So that was free advice today. But anyway, so I decided I'm gonna get my CDL. I get online, I do all the homework to figure out what I need to do to get it, and I get the book and I study for the test. And so I go to the driver's license place and they put you back in that closet they call a room on that thing they call a computer that's still running dial-up, you know what I'm saying? And you get in there and you take the test on this computer and so I take the test and I pass. And I was like, yes, okay, I passed the test. And I go out and the lady at the counter reaches across the counter and says, here's your new driver's license. And I was like, in my head, I didn't say this out loud, but in my head I was like, don't I need to do a driving test or something? Isn't there another piece to this puzzle? But it's also kind of well, maybe that's why semis are always running me off the road. They're just passing these things out at the DMV today. So it's all clicking at the same time. But I was like, surely this isn't all I had to do. Answer 18 out of 20 on a little quiz or whatever it was. This can't be right. So I asked out loud, I said back to this lady, I was like, so you're telling me I'm good to drive now? She was like, yep, you're good to drive. I was like, all right, cool. Well, let's strap up, buckle up, everybody. We're driving this. So over the next few months, I'm driving students all around Nashville all the time. I take our students from Nashville to Orlando on a trip. It's 12-hour drive or something like that. I drive our students from Nashville to Mexico, an 18-hour drive. I'm driving them everywhere. Long story short, somewhere in this window of time in a conversation with Tim, I quickly, somehow, longer story, realized that I've been given a permit, that I don't actually have my commercial driver's license, right? And so I've been illegally driving all around the country with these kids this whole time. Didn't even know it. But 24-year-old arrogant youth pastor. Jeremy's like, ain't broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep on riding this thing, you know? Like, let's just, why go through the hassle of taking this driver's test? Because Tim Park was like, dude, you know there's a driver's test. And I was like, dude, no, you don't have to do it anymore. He was like, man, you totally have to take the driver's test. So anyway, so I just keep driving until one day, we're in Indiana for a conference, and I'm driving our shuttle, and a person runs a red light. Nobody was injured. It was just a fender bender, but like person runs a red light and hits us. I saw them texting while they were like coming up on the left side, and police officer was at the same intersection. He saw it happen. But anyway, you see where this is going. So I get out of the bus, and the police officer comes and he's like, hey, cool. I hand him my license, you know, like, slowly stepping away as I like hand him my license. And he's like, hey, where's your CDL like supervisor? Can I get their license as well? And I was like, excuse me, what? My who? Who are you? And he's like, you know, the person that has to be with you when you're driving since you just have a permit. And I'm like, so what happened was, and then I like tell him the whole story. Long story short, a week later I had taken my driver's test to get my CDL, and I actually got my commercial driver's license. Now, my question is, why we do this all the time? Why are we by default people that like procrastinate on things that actually matter? You know, like I get procrastinating on the things that don't really matter in life. Like I get that, like put that off for a rainy day or when you feel like it. But why do we procrastinate on things that like are actually important? Like why we're always like, oh, we'll go on a diet someday, right? We'll get back in shape someday. Or like, man, can we just talk about those of you who wait to get gas until the light comes on? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna end up on the side of the road. I hate to tell you, but it's gonna happen. Or like your oil change. Like we need these things. Like they're important. Or finishing your degree, or breaking a habit, or starting a habit, or getting back involved in the church, or whatever it might be. We like for some reason, and I guess it's the time and the energy and sometimes the money that it would take to actually do these things. But for some reason, we put them off. And it's usually, if we're being honest, it's not actually until like something bad happens. Like we end up on the side of the road, or we get pulled over by the police, or like we have to go to the doctor, or like your tooth falls out so you got to go to the dentist kind of thing. Like it's usually not until something actually bad happens that it like spurs us to do something about the thing that we've been putting off for too long anyway. All throughout the Old Testament, this is going to continue to happen to God's people. We're today going to just zoom in on two verses in Joshua chapter 24. We'll be there in a second. It's super famous, two verses. A lot of you could probably quote the two verses. But all throughout the Old Testament with God's people, over and over again, this is going to happen where God's people, they believe in Jesus. And they see Jesus as an important thing in their lives. But at some point, Jesus went from being like the one and only to like one of many important things. You see the difference there, right? Like at some times and seasons in the history of God's people, maybe true for us today as well, at certain seasons, God was like the one and only thing that mattered. And so when he was the one and only thing that mattered, there was like an urgency in following him. There was an immediate desire, all attention, all focus, all energy was geared towards following and serving Jesus. But as time went on, Jesus went from being the one and only to like one of many important things. Like in the context of the Old Testament, a lot of times it was other gods that like popped up, and they still believed in God, but like other small g gods kind of popped up and were on the same plane or on the same radar as the one true God. Or maybe it was just other priorities that like crept into people's lives. And so Jesus went from the only thing that mattered to like one of the things that mattered. The problem is when he becomes just like one of the important things in our lives, that easily and frequently we lose the urgency. And so it's easy to procrastinate in our relationship with God, with our pursuit of Jesus. It's easy to get distracted by all the other things around us. When Jesus goes from being the one and only to the one of many, it's very easy to put him off for a rainy day. It's very easy to worry about that when the stars align, when the seasons are perfect, because there's no more urgency or it doesn't matter as much right now for my life today. And so God is going to consistently, over and over throughout the Old Testament, send his prophets to grab God's people by the shoulders, shake them, and say, Jesus isn't just another important thing in your life. He is the only thing that matters in your life. He's not one of many good things. He's not one of many important things. He is the only good thing and the only thing that matters in your life. One of these examples of God's prophets kind of coming to his people is in Joshua chapter 24. This isn't the only one, but there's several examples of this. In Joshua 24, don't take my word for it, Joshua is going to show up and he's going to remind God's people. He gathers everybody together and he's like, guys, don't you remember when he was our one and only? Like, do you remember all the ways that God showed up and how real and how present and how relevant God was in those moments? Like, do you remember how God was faithful then? Well, don't you think he'd be faithful now? Don't you remember how he was relevant then? Well, don't you think he'd be relevant now? Don't you remember how we had an urgent mission to lead the world back to Jesus then? Well, why is that mission not so urgent today? And then he jumps in, Joshua chapter 24, starting at verse 14, pretty famous words from Joshua. He says to the people, "Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worshiped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve." Joshua stands up and he's like, all right, guys, Jesus went from being the one and only to one of many. And so there's a whole bunch of these other gods. There's a whole bunch of other priorities that have gotten on par with the one true God. You guys, right now, you got to get rid of those other gods, because as long as those are in your life, you can't elevate Jesus back to the place of being the one and only. So we got to get rid of some of those things in your life so that Jesus can come back and take the place of honor, of importance in your life. But then I love how Joshua comes and he says, choose for yourselves this day. Joshua's like, all right, we've been talking about this for too long. We've been putting this off for too long. This conversation has waited long enough. It's time for you to decide right here, right now. Are you team Jesus or are you not? Is Jesus the one and only, or is he just one of many? Are you sold out for Jesus right here, right now, or are you not? Joshua knows that if he lets the people kind of wander, kind of drift, that slowly over time they will continue to elevate things not named Jesus in their life. So he puts his foot down and he's like, right here, right now, make a decision. This happens all over the Old Testament as well. Another example, 1 Kings chapter 18, another famous passage, this moment with a prophet named Elijah. Elijah looks at some of God's people and he's like, how long are you guys gonna waver between two opinions? He's like, if God is God, then he's the one and only, so serve him. If Baal is God or all these other gods are God, then why are we even having this conversation? He's like, how long are you gonna go back and forth? How long are you gonna dip your toe in Jesus, but also like make these other things on God level with the one true God? Like, make a decision right here, right now. Stop waiting for next week. Stop waiting for next year. Stop waiting for when all the stars align and everything makes sense. Right here, right now, are you with Jesus or are you not? The hard thing is, you can believe in Jesus and him not be the one and only. Like, you can believe in Jesus, but also put your hope and trust in a lot of other things in life. So Joshua kind of puts his foot down and he says, hey, he used to be one and only. Now he's become one of many. And right here, right now, it's time for you to decide. Are you in or are you out? Essentially what he says. And then he ends with these, I'm gonna go back. I wanna make sure we catch the last, catch the last part of this section kind of like as one whole chunk. But he kind of goes back and then he says some pretty famous words that a lot of us, me included, probably have somewhere written on the walls of your house, okay? Let's go back to verse 14 and then check out what Joshua does here. Back to 14, now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worshiped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. In other words, Joshua, once again, he gets up. He reminds them of all the ways that God has been faithful. And he gets to this point where he's like, you need to decide right here, right now. Are you in or are you out? And then at some point, he's like, you know what? I can't control you. All I can do is say right now that as for me and my house, Jesus is the one and only. And I love that he uses the phrase, so we will serve the Lord. I think there might be a tendency, this might just be 2022, I don't know, but there might be this tendency today for those of us that might have this statement, but as for me and my household on our walls, there might be this tendency for that to have become a statement that basically means, hey, for the people that live in this house, we believe in Jesus. The problem is you can believe in Jesus and him still be one of many, not just the one and only. For Joshua here, he wasn't saying, hey, our family believes in Jesus. He was saying, Jesus gets our life. He gets our time, our money, our energy. Jesus gets everything because for too long now, he's been one of a bunch of important things. And so right here, right now, I'm saying you guys need to make a decision, but my decision is that my family is all in on Jesus. Man, why is it? We are like professionals at procrastinating in our relationships with Jesus. Oh, yeah, Jesus, when travel season ends, then I'll get back to serving in your church. When I get the raise, when I get the promotion, when the bonus hits, then I'll start giving. Jesus, when I get some more time in my schedule, I'll make an appointment with the counselor to work on my addictions. When one more time, Jesus, and I'm going to stop that sin. Just one more week, Jesus, and I'm going to start waking up early and I'm going to get back into my Bible and I'm start praying again. When grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle and first cousin, second cousin, seventh cousin, and all the cats can be there, I'll get baptized. Like we are professionals at putting off what Jesus is trying to do in our lives. And I think Joshua had the same issue. I think Elijah had the same issue. I think Moses had the same issue with God's people, and Jeremiah and Isaiah and Daniel. And they, at some point in time, they had to stand up and say, friends, there's a lot of important things in the world. There are good things that matter in this life, but none of them compared to Jesus being the one and only. So don't take Jesus and have him be your one and only, but then minimize him. Diminish his power, make him irrelevant, make him not something urgent, something that doesn't matter to our lives today, to where it gets on par with all the other important things in your life. It's time for you to make a decision right here, right now. Are you team Jesus or are you not? Is he the one and only, or is he just like a good thing that you believe in, just like you do in sports or in family or relationships? Is Jesus the only thing that matters, or is he just on a list of things that matter a good amount? So then he stands up and he says, but as for me and my house, we're done wavering between two opinions. But as for me and my house, we are serving the Lord right here, right now. There's this quote from a girl named Christine Kane that like landed with me, kind of hit me square between the eyes when I heard it. Christine Kane said one time, if you don't do it here and now, you'll never do it then and there. And I think that's essentially what Joshua is saying. I think that's what Elijah was saying, essentially coming out and saying, hey, you can keep putting off Jesus, making him something that's important, but not the only thing that really matters in life. You can keep going to church. You can keep conceptually believing in Jesus, but putting your hope and trust in other things that you put on par with Jesus, instead of making Jesus the only thing that matters. So Christine Kane says, so Joshua says, so Elijah says, do it now. Or else you're probably not going to do it until the warning light comes on. Until something bad happens in your life and you have nowhere else to go but to Jesus. So turn your attention towards Jesus today. Now, I think this is a trap for all of us. But can I acknowledge that I think it's even a bigger trap for the next generation? I mean, from the time that they're like 4 or 5 years old, are we not asking them, hey, what are you going to be when you grow up? Like already we're pointing them to someday in the future, not like right now, who are you? What is God making you to be right now? But we're already pointing into the future. Then they get a little bit older and we say, hey, where are you going to go to college? Well, what are you going to major in? What are you going to do with your life? And again, we're pointing them to the future. And then we call them, we label them all the time, the future of insert whatever word, the future of the church, the future of the country, the future of an organization, the future of whatever it might be. And all we do to the next generation is we continue to put off the relevance, the urgency, and the importance of Jesus by unintentionally calling them the future of something instead of what Jesus is actually doing in their lives right here, right now. It's a trap for the next generation to unintentionally make grades as important as Jesus, to unintentionally make sports as important as Jesus, because they feel urgent. They feel relevant. They feel important to get the scholarship, to make the team, to put relationships on the same level as Jesus because they feel present. They feel relevant. They feel urgent. And we have to be the church that says Jesus isn't one of a bunch of important things. Jesus is the only thing that matters. He's not one of many. He is the one and only. And so that's why here at Christ.Church, we have built a kids ministry on discovering who Jesus is on their age level in a way that they can begin to understand who Jesus is. A preteen ministry on helping kids begin to start to live like Jesus, to live out what they believe in Jesus. A middle school ministry around helping middle schoolers find their identity in Jesus in a season where people are trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in the world. We want to help them find their identity in Jesus. And a high school ministry that's built around not just coming and hearing about Jesus, but doing Jesus out in the world and reproducing what Jesus has done in your life, in your friend's life, in your school, in your city, and in your home. It's why we've got half of our building over here that is built, dedicated to leading the next generation to Jesus now, not just someday. It's why we have a whole education part that's going up right over here, an opportunity to lead more students to make Jesus the one and only today, not just someday. It's why Christ.Church for 50 years now has continued to give so much money, so much staffing, so much time and energy into the next generation. So if I can just say real quick, thank you. For those of you who serve with the next generation, for those of you that give, that continue to allow us, if you gave at Easter, you made a way for a whole bunch of students to go to CIY this summer, and 21 of them, 27, including beach baptism, got baptized and gave their lives to Jesus. Like the impact is exponential. It's generation changing. It's history changing kind of impact. So I just want to say thank you. But I'd also love to use the next generation to kind of also spur adults, those of us who have been doing this for a while, to relight our fire, to spur us on to faith and good works, to use that language. So this is by no means this isn't even close to everybody that we could do this with. This is nowhere near the full list of people, but I got a few of my friends from our high school ministry that are gonna come out here, you guys can come on out, and are gonna join me on stage and wanna talk about all the ways that they are kind of serving in our church. If you wanna give it up for them on their way out, you can. Groupies. They snuck out here first service, and I just saw shadows, and it got real. I was about to get jumped up here. But anyway, so these are some of my friends. Again, this is by no means we have students serving right now all over the building, but these are some that have a wide range of stuff that they're doing in the church. I'd like to do two things here. One, I would like for all of us, if you see them out and about today, if you see them serving, if you serve alongside of them, give them a high five, give them a hug. Tell them you're proud of them. There are literally a million things that most teenagers might feel are more urgent or more pressing or more important in this moment than serving the church and serving Jesus. So give them a high five, tell them you're proud of them. But I also hope that, I'm gonna explain how this has happened in my life, but I also hope that you see here in a second what they're doing drives me to do what Jesus is trying to do with my life as well. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have them go down the line. We'll start with Hayden down here. We'll go down the line. Sorry, stole that from you. Anyway, we're gonna start down here. They're gonna give you their name. They're gonna give you where they're serving in the church. What's the other thing? Your name, your grade, and where you're serving in the church. Go.
Okay. I'm Hayden, and I'm going into 12th grade, and I serve with middle school. I greet them in the morning, and then Sunday nights, high school, I host.
Yeah, so Hayden, if you have a new middle schooler, she would be the first one at the top of the stairs, like smiling, high-fiving middle schoolers, maybe even walking them in to introduce somebody to a friend or to a leader. So if you have a new middle schooler or you bring a friend with a middle schooler, Hayden's gonna be up there ready to go, high-five, introduce them to somebody. Next.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm going to 12th grade, and I help lead an 8th grade small group, and then I also help with the creative team for the students ministry.
Yeah, so Abby got to come with us on a middle school trip this summer and got to be a part of leading some middle schoolers to Jesus there, but she's also on our creative team, which essentially like Abby basically runs our social media sometimes. So if you see content from our students' social media, a good chunk of the time Abby's the one producing that or getting the content. When we were in Mexico in March with a lot of these guys, when we were there, everything that hit our social media was Abby that week because the rest of us were like, I don't know, busy or something. So Abby took care of social media for us. Yeah, keep going.
My name's Griffin. I'm gonna be a senior. I help with the tech for high school and the band, and I lead an 8th grade small group.
Yeah, so Griffin just started working in middle school ministry with some of our middle schoolers, but he also is in the back on the ones and twos, as they say, on Sunday nights with our high school ministry and kind of doing a lot of that from the back end side of things. Keep going.
I'm Garrett. I'm going into sophomore year, and I've been with the 3-year-olds for about a year now.
Yeah, so we got a lot of CC Kids volunteers. I see all your shirts on out there. I'm repping with you today. Garrett is serving alongside of you guys every week. Man, I hear all the time all the good things that Garrett is doing in CC Kids, and Garrett actually got to join us on a middle school trip this summer as well, but keep going.
Hi, I'm Xander. I'm going into sophomore year, and I do tech production down here Sunday mornings, and then Sunday nights I'm in the worship band for high school.
Yeah, so Xander a lot of times is back there in the sound booth on Sunday morning, and even at times like controlling some of the stuff that's going on our screen, serving in Big Church. He also plays bass for us a lot on Sunday nights. He's been trying to convince me he can play drums on Sunday night too. That hasn't happened yet, but we'll see where that goes. We'll see how that lands, but I don't know. We'll see. Good. Plus, yes. Oh, he's for it. So anyway, yeah, that's Xander. I'm going to scoot over. You can keep going.
I'm Noah. I'm a junior, and I lead worship.
Yeah, so Noah's up here. That was fast, dude. Anyway, so Noah's up here. You saw him just leading a little bit ago. Noah leads for us a lot on Sunday nights in high school ministry, leads worship for us, and has been a part of a bunch of the worship nights here in Big Church and serving on stage here. Keep going.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm going to be a junior, and I am a 7th grade small group leader, and I serve as a part of the First Impressions team on Sunday nights.
Yeah, so are you catching that a lot of these guys are like serving in multiple areas around the church? So she has a group of middle school girls that can be a tough enough job in and of itself, and she also is on Sunday nights one of the first people you would see when our high schoolers come in, standing at the top of the stairs, high-fiving people on the way in. Keep going.
Hi, I'm Gianna. I'm going into my senior year of high school, and I lead our high school host team as well as preach sometimes to our middle and high schoolers.
Yeah, so Deanna actually leads a team of like other students. So a couple of these guys, and even, sorry, steal your thunder, even Evan here in a second, a couple of these guys host for us in middle school and high school ministries, whether that's like leading games or announcements or communion or transitions in the service. So she actually like leads the team of those people that do that. She's also one of my favorite preachers. Keep going.
Hi, I'm Evan. I'm gonna be a junior, and I lead a group of middle school guys, and then I also host on Sunday nights.
Yeah, so Evan's been with them like 6 months now, leading them with Parker, who was in here serving I saw earlier as well. And they have a group of guys that, man, let me just say, they can be a little rowdy. I don't know if you've been around 6th grade boys, but every now and then you get to hear an awesome conversation that happens with a middle school boy, and so Evan's been a huge part of that. Last one.
I'm Paige. I'm going to be a sophomore, and I'm the lead of our high school First Impressions team, and also on Sundays I serve at the Hub.
Yeah, so Paige, again, is leading a team of other students on Sunday nights to be like greeters and first impression stuff. She also is out here at the Hub, which, shameless plug, if you're new here to Christ.Church, we would love to tell you all about what God is doing here, and we'd love to get you connected. You could just go find Paige after service, or you could go right out here to the Hub, and they would love to get you connected to all that Jesus is doing here in the church. So can we give it up for my friends for just a second? Yeah. Yeah. And again, This is like nowhere near like the number of students that we have actively serving here around the church. But I'd love for you to get a little window of their like heartbeat for Jesus here as well. So we'll just, Paige, you can keep that. I'm gonna ask a few of them a couple more questions. I wrote them down, so here we go, good luck. So Paige, let's go this. Why do you lead the greeter team and why do you serve at the hub?
So I lead the greeter team because I love being able to see how Jesus moves within our students, but also I love seeing how they get connected and get plugged in. And I just love seeing how they can grow with their faith in Jesus. And I love serving at the hub because not only can I see it in high school students, but I can also see it with everybody else within the church.
Yeah, that's so good. And discipleship always happens. Yeah, you can clap, that's cool. Discipleship always happens inside of relationships, so I love that we have students that are like paying attention to make sure people are connecting. So I guess, Evan, you got next then, I guess. So, Evan, how has Jesus grown you in your time being a small group leader?
Yeah, so I would say there hasn't been like one like life-changing moment
Sure.
in my life while I've been like serving, but the big thing for me has been a bunch of like small steps that I've been leading up as I've been serving. So like before I started serving the church, like you have a long week at school and then you are out with friends on Saturday night and it's like, do I really want to go to church tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to get up in the morning?
Been there.
And so that's like one of the hard things. But then once I started serving, I got involved and, I fell in love with it. I got a passion for it. I've built connections with my boys. And so like, I love being there for them. I got to be there for my buddy Parker over there. And all you guys too that like give your time. So it's just a great community, and that's something I think people forget about church is the community.
Yeah.
So then we all get to come down to 11 o'clock service and worship together.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. And so those small like just growth and faithfulness that
Yeah.
I've learned, that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, I love it. That it's not necessarily some mountaintop. Yeah, sorry, I keep cutting you guys. Yeah. Not necessarily like some like mountaintop moment, but just the faithfulness of continuing to trust and follow Jesus. That's so good. All right, so I guess we'll just keep going. Deanna, why don't we roll with this? How have you seen Jesus move? Like now that you've decided to do it, to use Christine Kane's quote, like here and now, how have you seen Jesus move?
Well, I've seen Jesus move in so many ways, but I think the most that I've seen him move is just in the people closest to me. And I take what I've learned from student leadership on high school nights and bring them outside of the four walls of this church. Just trying to bring my friends and my family to church. It can be as simple as an invite to a small group event or whatever it is. I think I've seen him do so many things in just the people that I can pour into and keep on pointing them to Jesus. Actually, like 2 weeks ago at CIY, 3 of my friends got baptized, and it was just, everything was so worth it. Waking up early, serving, it was just so worth it in that moment, so.
Yeah, I love it. I love the worth it. I love that pouring into our friends, pouring into our community is worth the risk. It's worth the cost because Jesus is going to show up and he's going to be faithful. Can we just give it up one more time for my friends here? Yeah, which reminds me, as I said it, so this happened about an hour ago, but it needs to happen again, just so we're clear. So I'm gonna have a little family meeting here with them. You guys can listen in, but you're about to get my back here for a second. Okay, all right, anyway. Just a reminder. Just a reminder, nobody's clapping for you, right? Yeah, you're welcome. They're clapping for what Jesus is doing in and through you. So don't fall in love with the lights. Don't fall in love with the stage. Don't fall in love with any of the cool things that happen. Just fall in love with Jesus. Go team. All right, guys, get out of here. All right. Man, can I just say, I want to say this. First of all, adults in the room, thank you for all that you do and all that you've done to pour Jesus in the next generation. Students, kids, teenagers in the room, can I just say this? Man, get on board with what the adults that have been faithful to Jesus in this room and in your life, the way that they've been faithful to Jesus now for decades. Get on the train of the adults in your life, their faithfulness, their obedience to Jesus, their sacrifice for the mission of the church. Kids, students, teenagers in the room, get in line behind the adults in your life and follow them to faithfulness. Follow them to obedience. Follow them to sacrifice, because they will pave the way that leads to Jesus. So adults, thank you for being that in their lives. Adults in the room, I would say this. As a guy who for the last 13 years has had a front row seat to what Jesus is doing in the next generation, I'll say this. There's this 1 Timothy 4:12, which if you've ever been young growing up in the church, everybody loves to quote that, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. which we use this as a way of like, look, I'm a big deal. Like don't look down on me for being 15. Like, I can do this. Like, watch me work kind of thing. But it's not that at all. The second half of 1 Timothy 4:12 is but set an example for the believers in faith, in love, in conduct, and in purity. And so adults, maybe us old dogs can even learn some new tricks from the next generation. Trust me, there's plenty of work left to do in the next generation. These guys are not perfect. They're gonna continue to blow it. It's not just gonna magically be easy. But if there's one thing that I think that we can take from the next generation, it's this. This next generation, if they see a problem in the world, they're gonna give up everything to fix it. So if Jesus is the answer to whatever the problem is in the world, if Jesus is the fix, if Jesus is the cure, if Jesus is the answer, this next generation is gonna give it all up because there's a world that desperately needs Jesus and they know where to find him. If there's one thing that we could get on board with the next generation, it's the urgency. That this thing matters here and now. That Jesus isn't just one of many good things in our lives. That Jesus is the one and only thing that matters in our lives. So church, right here, right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, not when everything starts to work out. It's time for you to choose this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods of your forefathers worshiped beyond the Euphrates or in Egypt, or the one true God, Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. Stop wavering between two opinions, making Jesus an important thing on the list of other important things. Today is the day that we declare, but as for us at Christ.Church, we don't just believe in Jesus, we will serve the Lord. Let's pray. Jesus, we not only believe in you in this moment, we not only know that you're real and know that you're good, but because of your goodness, because of your faithfulness, we can't wait another day. We can't wait another day to leave our sin. We can't wait another day to fall in love with you and your sacrifice. We can't wait another day to run after you. So as a church, Jesus, right now we make the decision that you are our God. You are our one and only, not just one of a bunch of good things on a list, but Jesus, you are the only thing that matters in our lives. Jesus, you're it. The mission is too great. It's too urgent. It matters too much to wait another day. So Jesus, as for Christ.Church, you're our one and only. We love you the most. It's in your name we pray.